stock up, stock down, Chris Arnold. Ezekiel Elliott.
Is there such thing as a holding pattern? The only reason I say this
no fence riding here, Chris Arnold.
Well, the
stock up or stock down.
The stock, here's what's so crazy, is actually trying to go up a little bit. I don't expect it to go back up to where it was in October and September, because that's when he was in tip-top shape, the height of his career. The knee is bothering him clearly, but since they had that break, the 10 days off after the New Orleans game, he's been solid. I mean, he's not been great by any means, but he gets the dirty yards. So I want to give him a holding pattern, but I would say down if you want to compare him to himself of earlier this year.
I'm going to give him a slight stock up because of that very fact right there. Apparently, he can't injure it any further by continuing to play.
Right.
He had the 13-yard touchdown run. He's getting you the short, dirty yards that you need, the short yardage that you need to, keep drives alive. But, man, it has been hard watching him run at times this season, especially with the knee injury that he's been dealing with. He's tough as nails. You're going to have to rip him off the field to keep him from playing. But at the same time, the totality of what Ezekiel Elliott is as a back with the pass blocking and those kinds of things. But that gets me to this part, though. Tony Pollard right now is the better of the two backs playing right now.
Yes, he is.
Even with the torn plantar fascia, he has the juice and is able to get out on the edge. You can know what he does as far as a kick returner. He's got a 100-yard kickoff return, this year. Tony Pollard, as this season has gone on, to me, especially knowing the health of these two backs and what you're getting from the run game right now, it would not shock me if the Cowboys looked at their situation, at least for the rest of this regular season, and said, hey, Tony Pollard should probably get, the 60-40 split when it comes to the carries, just beginning how effective he's been in the running game so far. So it's not, again, Ezekiel Elliott is a tough football player. Tony Pollard is the better back right now as far as production is concerned. That's just a fact right now.
No question about it, and I blame Kellen Moore. It's not Ezekiel Elliott who's demanding the ball on every. No, call my number. He ain't doing that. He's being worried out there to play. But that doesn't mean that you have to give him the ball every single down in the quote-unquote usual situations, because literally the run game wasn't being effective primarily because the offensive line was compromised. It's doing better now. Got a crazy stat for him. I'm going to throw it in a little bit here. But the bottom line is this. Jerry Jones said it about 3 weeks ago. Tony Pollard, he said this after one of the games, Tony Pollard was supposed to get about 25 carries. It did not happen. I blame Kellen Moore. Now, for those who say, and I'm a big Zeke guy, don't get me wrong, I think Ezekiel Elliott, when he's healthy, is a great running back. And by the way, he's number 2 in the NFL in rushing, despite being on one leg for the last month and a half. Now, Tony Pollard deserves to carry the ball more, but I think it's up to Kellen Moore to be situational with it. In other words, if you're within the 10-yard line, give it to Zeke. If you're going to do a pass out of the backfield, give it to Pollard. I'm not saying start Pollard. I'm saying let him carry the ball more, especially when you want to change things up. And for those who say, well, Zeke is a more complete back, I completely agree with you. In fact, nobody pass protects better from the running back position in the NFL than Ezekiel Elliott. But guess what? They're not blitzing Dak anymore.
That's right.
So you can have Tony Pollard back there. Pollard is a situational running back. I think they have a fear of breaking him. And I also know, because I have intel too, they've got plays for him they're saving for the playoffs. I'm talking about Pollard. They do not want him to be hurt. When they had him rest because of that plantar fasciitis tear in his foot, it was a good break. But at the same time, they don't want to overexpose him because they've got some stuff designed for him for the playoffs. Just letting you know.
When you start looking at some of the advanced numbers and some of the things as far as, expected yards per carry above expectation, Tony Pollard is dusting the NFL when it comes to being able to get more yards than expected based on the carries that he's getting. And Ezekiel Elliott right now isn't doing that when you look at it from a play-by-play, per-play basis. Again,
Tony Pollard should get the majority of the snaps, but when Zeke's healthy, he's better. The other thing about Tony Pollard, I remember about Tom Landry. Back in the day, Tony Dorsett was always asking me, can you ask Landry how come he's not giving me more carries? Because Landry would not give him, he put a governor on Dorsett. He would not give him more than 21 carries a game at all, if that. And I would ask Landry, and I'd tell Dorsett, I said, this is what he said. He thinks he's going to get hurt because he's too small. For those who don't know Tony Pollard's story, he's never been a feature back. From high school to college to pros. He's never been the feature back. Do you know if he can take the pounding? You don't know. But you know Zeke can, so you let Zeke take the pounding. At the same time, right now, Ezekiel Elliott's not giving you the same kind of production. Kellen Moore, fix it.
Stock up, stock down. CeeDee Lamb for your Dallas Cowboys. Stock up, stock down.
It's slightly down. You were talking about Zeke is slightly up. CeeDee is slightly down only because, I mean, don't get me wrong. CeeDee's the man. He's come back from the ankle. He's come back from the concussion. He's got the yak. Nobody gets the yards after the catch like CeeDee. But how come he got the drops again? There's a couple of those plays where Dak probably could have had over 300 yards passing had he held onto the football. He's done this the last couple of years. He never did this at OU. I thought he had solved this the middle of the season, but it happened again this last game. So I'm going to say slightly down, like maybe one step back.
Prior to Week 15, CeeDee Lamb had just 5 drops in 13 games with 109 targets on the year. That gave him a drop percentage of just 4.6%. Of the NFL players with 100 or more targets so far in 2021, Lamb's prior mark was on par or lower than some of the game's best receivers. Guys like Cooper Kupp, 5.3%. Keenan Allen, 4.5%. Justin Jefferson, 3.6%. Lamb's drop percentage only goes up to 6.8 on the year, factoring in the drops that he had now. So while, yes, he has a drop problem and unfortunately is coming up in critical situations, and credit to Jess Haney of Inside the Star for those numbers there, those are critical drops that when you start projecting about games going forward, you can't have those in those critical situations, especially when the margins are so thin when it comes to winning and losing football games, not only during the rest of the regular season, but into the playoffs as well.
What did you say, Troy? Cooper Kupp hasn't had a drop since 2018?
Week 5 of 2018.
Damn!
And that's a drop of a pass 20-plus yards or more downfield.
Woo!
So
see, CeeDee's got that capability, but he's not there. So when people say, oh, CeeDee's the true receiver in this team, he's the number one receiver. No, he's not. Amari Cooper's still training him up. If you watch Hard Knocks and they replayed this and it went viral on social media of Amari showing CeeDee the tricks of the trade, CeeDee's got ridiculous upside. And he's got the yak but Amari commands a double team because he's that good. So when he doesn't have the same number of targets or the same number of catches, it's because he's got a couple of guys on him. They put that shell on top of Amari, and CeeDee is open. CeeDee doesn't get that respect right now, primarily because of the drops.
Yeah, and I would say for me right now it's a slight stock down because of the drops. Because
that's the only reason.
Again, he's too good of a player to be able, because you mentioned the yards after the catch, one of the best in the NFL in terms of yards after the catch, but you've got to secure the football, and you're too talented of a wide receiver given the fact that he's going to have to be a critical part of this offense. And part of the reason why Dak has had some of his struggles is that some of the offensive rhythm, whether it be communication-wise or with his receivers dropping the football, has not allowed that rhythm to be refound as far as the offensive consistency is concerned. So he's had a part in that. It's been on Dak Prescott. It's been on some miscommunication. But they've all got to get on the same page collectively going forward. Otherwise, this is an offense right now that without the confidence that we had in them during the regular part of the season, the first part of the season, it's hard to see how this team will be able to make that deep playoff run if the offense doesn't play better, because they have to in order to make sure the Cowboys make that run.
Yes, they do. You got time for one more? You got time for one more? Stock up, stock down? I'm going to go ahead and say it. It's Connor Williams. This is what everybody needs to know. The stock is through the roof. He was the MVP of the game Sunday against the Giants. When they ran behind him, we're talking about 7 times, they averaged 6.4 yards per carry. They picked up a first down on 43% of the attempts behind Connor Williams. They ran for 10-plus yards on 43% of those attempts. And Connor Williams committed 0 penalties and allowed 1 total pressure. Connor Williams is fixed, and so is the running game on the left side. And this was without Tyron Smith. Imagine when he gets back in the game on Sunday. Connor Williams. Let me drop that mic.